Are Greg and Maya professional reviewers? Absolutely not. Like amateurs at best, but it's okay because they're funny, smart, and kind of adorable. Bless their hearts. So sit back, relax, and tune into this week's episode of All Queued Up.
Hello, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome to All Queued Up, your podcast about streaming service shows. But that's not what we're doing today. As you can tell, we have a guest, Jeremy Massie. Hello, Jeremy.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing great this morning. It's also Maya here. She's not on camera.
No, I'm a loser today.
She thought she looked ugly, and I told her she's not. But, you know, that's because I'm a nice friend.
You are a dirty fucking liar.
We have Jeremy. This is a special episode. I don't know if this is going to go up on a Friday, but we have Jeremy here because he has I guess a comic book coming out. You could say it's a trade. Well, Jeremy, why don't you go ahead and tell us about the comic?
Comic book's fun. I think that's a catch-all. It's a good people.
Yeah, graphic novel.
Yeah, people like whatever. It's labels.
Yeah.
It's a comic book. It's about 300 pages. It's like 200, almost 300 pages, pushing that. It's called Holler. Trying to get all these out. It's been such a long time since. Got to get the title right. The title's important. It's called Holler. It's a graphic novel. Dark Horse Comics is publishing it. It comes out September the 24th. And it is about some kids in Southwest Virginia in the Appalachian Mountains. It's set in the 1990s, and it's about these punk kids that start a garage band because they kind of don't fit in with everybody else, and they kind of find each other and become friends and start to have adventures through this like grunge rock and roll punk band. So, and it's not autobiographical technically, but you know, it pretty much is. A lot of it is things that I witnessed, saw, stupid things I did, you know, a lot of that. A lot of the characters are sort of real black blended from people that I know, things like that. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So other than your personal life, what inspired the plot line of the graphic novel?
I've always wanted to do, I like the coming of age type story is, for whatever reason, I think comics, the formal aspects of comics really lend themselves well to, they work like memory works almost. And I think that coming of age stories just lend themselves pretty well to that medium. I've always wanted to do one, and I've always wanted to do one or a comic about my experiences in like go nowhere garage bands. When you see like movies or read books about like people in bands and stuff, it's always usually like a famous person, and they follow kind of the same arc. It's like they'll spend some time in the trenches getting ready, you know, and then they'll get famous. There'll be some kind of downfall and sort of like this like comeback, you know, or somebody dies. They're all kind of the same, but it's all famous people that you know. Usually is what those movies or stories are like. But having experience like, you know, being in the bands and things, like that's not the good stuff. The good stuff is like when you're broke and you're sharing like a bag of chips in a van and all the adventures that you get and all that stuff was I've never seen like really represented like in a story before. Maybe a few times, but I just wanted to kind of tell that side of it, the go nowhere side of it. And also just I had a lot of stories about growing up and where I'm from that were interesting to me, and I wanted some kind of vehicle to tell all of those. And I tried originally, I was thinking more like along the lines of like a 3-act structure, like I would normally do, and kind of wrapping all those stories I had from my youth like into that, but it wasn't really working out. And the thing that kind of broke it loose for me was the thing that kind of got me going was there was somebody sent me a link. There's a magazine called The Believer, and they have a music issue each year where their theme is like music, and they have comics in there. And I don't know who sent it to me, one of my friends, but they were looking for like a short comic about music. And I'd just been kind of jotting down ideas to put in this thing that I was eventually going to do that would become Holler. And I saw that they needed a short story. So I just submitted it's actually the first story in Holler. It's called The Nirvana Shirt. A little, like a 5-page just short story about something that happened to me when I was, a teenager, with music and this Nirvana shirt that I had. And they picked it up and put it in their magazine, and it was cool. Like, my parents got to go to Barnes and Noble and buy a magazine I was in, and but I really, really liked the story, and it dawned on me that doing Holler, I was thinking along the lines of it being more traditional, like I said, 3-act or the 3-act kind of structure thing, and like tying all these things that I wanted to into one like thing. And it dawned on me that I'm doing a comic book and I don't have to follow those rules. I can do single issues. So literally the first like 3 issues of Holler are just ended up being like little shorter stories. The first one has like 3 stories in it. I think all the way up to like issue 4 was one single story, but it just kind of dawned on me that I could do this comic kind of like the comics I grew up in, like in the 90s, the stuff I was reading, like the indie comics, like Hate and like Love and Rockets, and all those stories, they were like this ongoing, but they were full of tons and tons of stories. So I sort of just was like, I'll just do that.
Kind of like those old school pulp comics.
Yeah, it was just old school undergrounds. And Hate was a big one. I really looked at like where this is set in the 90s. I really, really looked at like 90s indie comics and like stuff like that. They were basically one man. They were almost like one person, like anthologies. If you look at like 8 Ball or like Hate or something like that, it's one person doing them, So I wanted to do that, have a couple different stories per issue. I had like single page strips all revolving around the same characters, but and then sort of this loose thing where it was just like what it's going to end up as is basically just the lives of these characters, like within like the last 2 years of like their high school. So that freed me up, and I got literally, I think, everything I wanted to tell in those. I did 8 issues of it. I think I got everything in there that I wanted to do. And you could read at the time, if you're reading them issue to issue, you could enjoy, like you could just pick up issue 2, not having read the first one. So you could have read them individually, but together and collected, they do read as one long thing that makes sense and is satisfying. So I'm pretty proud of all that. And I'm also proud of the fact that I got where I'm from, like the Appalachian Mountains up in Virginia, kind of portrayed well. Like if you see other lots of stories and portrayals of like where we're from, are a little lackluster in my opinion. So I wanted to be kind of honest about it, but also, not piss all over it, essentially.
Honor it in some way.
Honor it, and not, I mean, every place has its faults, and that's in there too, but I had a good time growing up there. I'm not gonna lie.
I was gonna say I'm from California, 20 minutes south of Sacramento. Been to San Francisco and LA multiple times. Hearing about the Holler for the first time, or hearing about the South, it was very much, and you got to keep this in mind. This was, growing up in the 90s as well. It was a lot of they're just a bunch of hillbillies that don't know anything. They're all dumb. They're missing teeth. Like they play banjo. That's all we knew. Like basically Deliverance.
I know.
And and meeting
and
a
we
lot
know
of
that too. We
Yeah.
know that we know that that's what people think. And
even to this day,
I
people
know.
think that. So
I know, and that's I'm proud of the fact that I got like it's not like I really was trying not to like turn my nose up at anything and just be honest about things. I mean, the good and the bad. So that's something that I'm proud of with the book and just the book itself. I think it turned out really. The books I've done in the past, I've not like bragged about, but I'm pretty excited about this one. Like it's something I've wanted to do since like for 20 years, and yeah, I'm just pretty happy with it.
no, it's awesome. A lot of people don't get to say that.
Yeah, whether it does well or not, too, I'm happy that it exists. The road to getting it published was like a trek. It was pretty crazy, but again, the stories themselves, like even though it's about a specific place, I think that there are things that are pretty universal about growing up. So no matter where you're from, even if you're not like you weren't like a music band person, you know, you weren't like a weirdo in a rock and roll band, I think you can still kind of latch on to it and recognize yourself in there, because, you know, growing up, there's some universal things that go on, I think, that are in there that everybody can enjoy. Yeah.
One thing about, you know, you said you wanted to represent our area, because you and I grew up just minutes apart, you know, you being a few years younger, about 4 years younger than I. But are the locations, because I've not read it yet, are the locations fictional representation, or did you actually use real town names and locations?
I'll throw some out for you. Okay. No, it takes place in Wise, Virginia.
Oh shit.
And yeah, the locations, I tried to use as many places as we hung out as possible. There was they go to Cavalier Comics.
Nice.
They go to Dad's CDs.
Oh, I missed that place.
Was around. I did use places that were pretty specific to that area back in the day, when it's set. I tried to get a lot of pictures from people that I knew, so I could use them. A lot of my friends really came through with that through Facebook, especially like clothing. Just the clothing of that era. It's easy to pin down, but you have to kind of. I had a lot of reference and had a lot of help. But as far as the area itself, that's something. The area itself is a character too, and I wanted to make sure that it was right. And like I said, I did use places. There was a place that I don't know if you remember, but there was a place where we used to play in Norton, which is near Wise, same county. But there's a place called the Gabby and Hub Bistro for a little while, and all of the teenage bands would like play there because she was having trouble getting her liquor license, so all the like kids would just like hang out there and, you know, loiter, and all our bands used to play there. So that there's a place in there in the comic called the Bistros, and it's that place. So I tried to be very, very specific.
That's awesome.
So, and I went also before I did this, and I just took photos of like street corners, sides of the road, like the side of the road, and just things like that. So it would look like the Appalachian Mountains that we grew up in, you know. And I find that my memory of the place is a lot like brighter than like when I went back. I still have family there, so I go back every once in a while. But I tried to make it pretty accurate to where we grew up, and I use names. I don't use the names of people. I keep those, you know, to protect the innocent, like in Dragon.
Yeah, Yes.
Yeah.
But this is based on a lot of people that we mutually know.
You probably know a few people, yeah.
There's an old phrase. There's an old phrase I've heard in writing since I've tried to be a writer for I don't even know how long at this point. Write what you know.
Yep.
Did you say weeks?
I said 2 weeks.
That was me.
That was pretty funny.
That's what Greg and I do.
Yeah, there's a term called write what you know, which is usually people put that in context like, I'm working right now on a children's book about a character who is going through a particular thing that I dealt with as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very frustrating, basically like paying attention to everything and knowing some stuff, but still needing questions answered just to have adults tell you, you don't understand, you're too young, yada, yada.
Right.
So I thought, I'll write that, because I know that, I'll write that. But I've changed everything. Like, it's an alien, and it's an alien planet, and all this kind of stuff. But you took that to the nth degree. You said, this location with everything I know, period.
Yeah, and what you said, like changing it and things, like I would, when I was writing the stories, I would get to a point where I was like, the real thing that happened works better in the story. Like I would be writing it, and I would in the back of my mind going, I have to make this more interesting or something like that. And I would first draft, I would always try to like change things up, and I always, literally every story would come back to the easiest, simplest answer is just how it happened. Like without fail, every single story I did, I would try to like jazz it up, and then I would dial it back, and just the reality of it meant more, and it just worked better. And
Right.
So, you know, but having the judgment just to be able to get away from it and look at it and say, yeah, this isn't working, and say, well, the real thing that happened is, and sometimes that's embarrassing as hell if you're if you're talking about yourself. The main character sometimes doesn't come out all that great, and some of the characters in general don't come out looking great. They're human. I've tried to make them like human beings, and
Right.
People mess up, and people make mistakes, and people do dumb things, especially when you're that age. And I try to just be honest about it.
Making mistakes is part of growing up.
Yeah,
so.
they say things that they say dumb things, they do dumb things, and it's just part of the story. A lot of the story just comes from people messing up too. That's what it's about. It's coming of age stuff. So, that is part of it. But yeah, the real, like the sixth, like for instance, the sixth issue has a story about a preacher's daughter. And when I wrote that first draft of it, I did change way too much, and I had to just completely go with almost all this embarrassing stuff that happened, and just do it and just go with it. And it's my favorite one because it's the most embarrassing probably. I think it's probably my favorite story in there. But yeah, and like I said, I've been wanting to tell these since I was very, very young, like first making comics. There's a character in the comic called Phil that was in the first mini comic I ever made. So I feel like this thing's like this full circle thing where, I've wanted to do this for years, and it's all in there. Like I feel like I exercised a lot of whatever. But yeah, very, very honest and just real life stuff. That's what it's about. There's nothing really fantastic in it. It's not like it's a comic book, but no super people, none of that. But
well, I've read plenty of graphic novels that had just characters being characters. So
right, That's where I'm coming from on this. Yeah.
I was like, if anyone's listening, going like, I don't understand. How do you have a comic book without anything like supernatural or anything in that regard? And it's not difficult. They exist. They're everywhere.
I read them.
Yeah.
I read a lot of them.
I mean, shit. Some of the movies that have come out in the past 20 years were based off of comics like that.
Oh yeah.
Like I think about it's a bit more like over the top, if you will, but that movie that came out with Viggo Mortensen,
History of Violence.
History of Violence. Yeah.
History of Violence. Road to Perdition was one.
Yep. Yeah. I always forget that.
Ghost World. All those American Splendor, all that stuff. That's kind of But there it is. I can see it on the screen. The trade paper. Look at it.
Yeah. Let me expand it, and we'll minimize you for a bit. And here we go. This is on Dark Horse's official website. The cover of the trade paperback, as you can see, Holler by Jeremy Massie. And I'm going to assume these are the lead characters, Mark and Jay.
Mark is the guy on the left.
Okay, with the guitar.
In the middle, the tall guy is Jay.
Okay.
And the guy standing on the speaker they have a friend that when they play, he dresses in his suit and has like a zombie mask, and he's kind of like, like Pink Floyd had that big pig, and he's like he like dances while they play and kind of gets the crowd revved up. And that's something that we did. My friend Andy Farland, I think was like my high school valedictorian, but on the weekends he was hanging out with us, dressed in this zombie outfit while we're playing music and like revving up the crowd for us. So I wanted to get that in there. So
that's great.
He's like their like the band mascot that kind of like, revs up the crowd and stuff. And he's part of he's in the book. It's a character called Anders, and he is best friends with the drummer Phil. He's got the crazy hair in the middle on the right. They're like skate kids, and they're vandals, and just they're all based on people I know. So when I'm writing this stuff, like I can hear them talk and stuff when I'm writing there. It's almost like not even writing dialogue for them when I was doing this stuff. Like I can hear all the voices and stuff. But yeah, those are the main people there in the front. So
fantastic. And you said it comes out September 24th.
Yeah, so in comic stores it'd probably be the 25th.
Yeah,
I think the 24th would be like the Amazon and the bookstore.
Yeah, I've got it pre-ordered through Amazon, but I'm going to pick up a second copy at your book signing that I saw was announced yesterday.
Yeah, I've got one there at the hometown store in Cavalier, and Cavalier Comics is actually in the book, so I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
the old location, but
oh, nice.
Yeah, I got the old back when it was on like Main Street, but all through October I'm going to be signing places. Cavaliers, I think the
12th.
Is it 12th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to be doing some things around here where I'm from, near Charlotte, and then I'm going to do just a couple. And on Instagram, I'll post all those on Instagram if people are going to go follow me. Just kind of like signings and things. Like Massie Makes Comics is pretty much what I am on any platform, but Instagram is where I'm on the most, because I share a lot of art on there. So, but
you should get did you get your signing at Heroes Aren't Hard to Find?
Not. I'm gonna do the con. I haven't talked about that with them yet. I know a couple people through my friends that work there, so I think I'm gonna weasel my way into the convention at least, and then
I used to work for Sheldon.
Yeah, He's a good guy.
Yeah, good dude. Good
Yeah.
dude.
Um,
So that's awesome.
have
I
you
wish
seen?
him luck.
Did you ever see his insane art collection, like the
No.
pages? Yeah, he had them in Abingdon once upon a time. He like shared them with what's the place in Abingdon? I can't remember the art, but they had him on display in Abingdon, like his art collection. He's got original pages from like everybody, like all through comics history. We're talking like Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, Frank Miller, Steve Rude. I mean, he had just like pages from everybody. It's an amazing like collection of art. But yeah, there's a strip. Look at that. That was one of the ones. Get a Real Job. Just a single page strip. It's like literally just a dude riding on a skateboard, messing with a
Billboard display signs.
Which my friend, one of my friends actually did that. So
I'm guilty of that myself.
yeah, when you live in a place where there's nothing to do, you've literally got to invent things to do. So that's kind of there's a lot of that. There's a whole story in there where they there's a pastime that we used to do where we would take pictures from dirty magazines and hang them up all over town. So there's a whole chapter devoted to that. I think Keith Barnett you mentioned. I think he's the creator of that pastime. I don't know how we didn't. I don't know how that we all didn't escape jail time, but
I believe he was the originator. He and I used to get into a lot of shenanigans.
Yeah, just there's little things like that, and then there's just stories that are just like character moments, and it's about them and their relationships and their friendships and all of that. But it's funny, it's sad, it's all the stuff you run into growing up,
Especially because the way that like I grew up was vicariously through my brothers. I was I don't want to say hermit, but I was all about reading comics, playing video games. I didn't go outside very often. There was a pivotal moment in my childhood where, for about I want to say 2 years, we literally couldn't go outside without getting in trouble. So we were just told to stay inside. So I learned all these really bad habits about just not exercising or going outside or anything like that. And so by the time I hit my teens, I had that experience. Like I had that lack of experience, I guess I should say. So it's always fun for me to read these kind of stories because now I get to see what others experienced. I get to see what others went through growing up and understand that there are unique experiences and shared experiences.
Yep, there are.
And I know that reading this comic, I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that like, oh, I know what that was like because I had a similar situation, or oh, that's an interesting like I remember watching SLC Punks for the first time. Didn't even know that kind of world could exist. Finding out that the writer was like, yeah, wrote that movie off of personal experiences. I was like, damn. Yep. So I'm looking forward to reading it. I really am. I was going to say earlier, because we were talking about how Californians have this like terrible take on Southerners.
And now you're in the South.
More or less. I guess this town I am is on the Bible Belt technically, but
it deals with that too. The book.
Oh, I imagine.
Yeah. There's a couple of different little threads in there. One of them is the band thing. One of them is just the relationship thing, the relationships. One of them is the main character. His family starts going to a different church. And the church that they start going to, he doesn't. They're very, 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 very conservative, and doesn't, he feels out of place there. And it's not like, and that was another hard thing to do. Let's talk about that, was to not, you don't want to, because I didn't want to be mean about, like, I didn't want him to be hateful to them, because that's not what happened. It's more like, and they weren't hateful. They're not hateful to him in the book per se. The kids his age, they go to that church. That's the sixth issue. It kind of comes to a head in that. That's the one I said I like the most. But that stuff's hard because you don't want to like be judgmental. It's hard not to be judgmental about anything in life. So it was a hard story to tell and get it real and get it right. And that's why I kept going back, just like I said, just the reality of the situation. But that's part of it. So that's one of the little threads in there. And there's sometimes it's funny, and sometimes it makes you a little mad reading it. But that's one of the things.
See, stuff like it's stuff like that I have zero experience with in my personal life. I've never, like, the closest I ever came to, if I'm being honest, is when I was 20, my brother-in-law basically told me that he didn't want to talk to me about politics because I was too young. Pissed me off. My dad says, don't talk to family and friends about politics. I went, bullshit, I'm going to anyway. And when I started working at Walmart, I started making this friend, and he would give me rides home from work. And on the way home, I'm sitting there telling him about this recent episode of Penn and Teller bullshit that I had just watched about creationism.
Right.
And I am just like hardcore shitting on creationism. Now, this guy, we had made a good friendship. We liked a lot of the same movies, liked a lot of the same video games. So I was like, cool, this is a friend. I'm just going to open up to him. And he just goes, like, we pull up to my house. He goes, Greg, I'm a creationist. For 15 minutes, I'm just shitting on creationism. But we still remained friends until he got married and moved, and then I never heard from him again. I see, and that's the thing. I don't have that experience you were describing. I just don't.
That's part of it. There's where we grew up. There's a church every. I'd say every 70. Yeah, it's a big part of where we're from. And I'm not particularly
that in high school football, apparently.
Right. But I'm not. I didn't want to be. What's the word? I didn't want to like be derogatory about it, or I wasn't looking to put it down at all. That's too easy. That's what people would expect, I think. So I wasn't mean about it, but I'm honest about it. I guess that's the through line here. Just be honest about my own experience with it. And everyone's, experience with that is a personal thing, but
it's always easy to turn to hate or turn to strong distaste, verbal distaste.
Right.
So writing around that experience without doing that is actually quite an accomplishment, if I'm being honest.
Well,
so
he has problems with where they're going, and that's one. There's some friction there with his parents and stuff in the book, but it's not. I wasn't mean-spirited. I'm not trying to be mean-spirited about. I wasn't trying to do that. I was just trying to be honest about it. When I was growing up, I had a lot of problems. When that happened, we started going to a different church when I was growing up, and it was just a different experience than what I was used to, and a lot of the things they said, it was like the first time I was that age, and I was just asking questions, and they were trying to give me answers, and they weren't jiving with me. So a lot of that's in there. So, but yeah, again, just had to try to be honest about it. That's actually some of the funniest stuff in the book, actually. So I'm glad that I put it in there. There's a part early on where I don't want to give it away. It's in the second
Yeah.
issue. Yeah, it's there's a part that just comes out of left field that that I love, but that might I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean
It's some of the funniest stuff in the book for sure.
so we definitely don't want to.
I don't want to spoil
Spoil
it.
anything.
Yeah,
It's too good to spoil. It's on a page turn. It's hilarious.
I gotcha.
Yeah, that stuff's in there.
I'm
Well, let's-
excited.
let's-
I'm excited for you. I'm excited to get my copy. I'm excited to get an additional copy signed by you.
Yeah,
It's tremendous.
it's cool. It's a publisher that I've not had a. I've been published before, but they're a bigger outfit, and it's just kind of neat for that to happen. Getting it there was pretty tough. Like I'd done comics before. I did a book called The Deadbeat back in the day. It was put out by Alterna, a comic company called Alterna, and I did a couple of books with them. I did a book called Bee Sting that was like a take on. It was like almost like an Archie slasher comic, which it sounds weird, but it worked. And I did a book that was set in the Appalachian Mountains too, called All My Ghosts. That it was Alterna. And then I did a superhero book with my friend Matt, who I also did the Bee Sting book with, and that was through Alterna too. So
I've got several number ones of that.
Yeah, and actually, like that kind of felt like my relationship with Alterna, with the publisher, kind of it fell through just for various reasons, and I started doing the first strip of Holler I did in that Believe or whatever. Then I just started online posting some other Holler stories, and I got enough to have a first issue, and I put one out myself, just self-published it, and then I got contacted by a company called It's Alive, and they put out It's Alive put out the single issues of Holler up until issue 6, and at first that was going really well, and but as it kind of went on, the guy running It's Alive was having some financial issues, which comic book industry is so great, it happens all the time. He was having some issues, and as far as like distribution and things, so like the whole collection of Holler wasn't looking was looking kind of bleak. And then around issue 6, when issue 6 came out, the publisher actually got COVID and passed away.
Yeah, I remember.
And the company was kind of like gone. There were some people that came in to kind of take over, but I didn't know these people, so I bolted. It was sad, because the guy had I think he was just married, but yeah, he got literally just dropped dead on the street, or he went into a coma, and then Holler I was just like, oh, I'll just do it myself. So I did it myself for a bit and just posted it online, and I found out that he'd been talking to some people from Dark Horse trying to get an imprint there. And another person that was doing a book called Breathers with It's Alive, Justin Madsen, had gotten in touch with an editor at Dark Horse, and they were putting out his book. So through him, I kind of weaseled my way into talking to Phil Simon, an editor at Dark Horse, and that's how I got the collection. And originally they were just going to do, I think, the first 4 issues and then do another book that was the last 4, and I pushed for, let's just do the whole thing, and just to make sure that it's all out there, because of all this stuff that happened with it. I just wanted it to be.
Why take a chance on only half of it getting published? And
I wanted
whatever
it to be,
reason.
Yeah, it was it was a real. Drew, the publisher, It's Alive, passing away was I was like, man, it it seemed like, you know, as I was doing the book, like things were getting harder and harder for it to kind of like be out into the world, you know. And now people were contacting me like, we can't get this issue, we can't get that issue, and it was really it was rough. So the fact that it finally like found a home and a good home, I was very, very happy with. And they were great. The people that helped design the book. I got the book about a week ago, and I've been like cradling it like an infant since then. Like
you have it there with you?
It's downstairs. I was reading it last night.
I was going to say, hold it up for the camera.
Wait a second. You know. Hold on.
Like a proud papa.
Somebody downstairs. Hey, Betsy.
Did
you bring me my book?
I would be the same way, to be honest.
Oh, 100%. Like, I put that thing in a shadow box eventually.
On the bookshelf to the right.
Like to write something yourself, to illustrate it yourself, and then just to get it published is something else.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, you're good.
My daughter's going to bring it. Hopefully, I yelled. We'll see what happens.
You yelled?
But anyway, they sent it to me, and I've been cradling it. It's
what's your baby?
Yeah, the people that designed it and the editors and stuff. You can come in. Just so you can. Thank you. You're the best. Close my door. I don't want to come in. Thank you. Bye. Love you. I should have had her on screen. She has her hair dyed red. Oh, she's really excited about that. It's very. But yeah, there it is. So
awesome.
Nice, huge spine. But yeah, it's good stuff. The colors and things, it turned like that's what you worry about is like how it's going to reproduce. And yeah, they did a great job with it. I was very, very happy. And the size is a little different. It's it almost is the shape of like a 45 or something. So like a record, which you know, it's not a standard comic book size.
Yeah, that's kind of fitting though, since there is so much, you know, involved in it that revolves around music. So the fact that it is similar to a 45 shape is kind of poetic in that regard.
Music is a big part of the story, and that's a big part of my life, has been forever. So like I said, that was part of it too. I wanted to get that experience in there. The Go Nowhere Garage Band is a beautiful thing to experience. I've been in a few Go Nowhere Garage Bands, and
I've actually seen you in a couple.
It's always a trip. Just being in the van, cans everywhere, hoping the van doesn't break down before you get to wherever you're going in Tennessee to play. Or, no. But you know,
playing the Fizz.
The Fizz, yeah. Oh gosh.
One of my first dates with Misty was actually to see you and when you guys were the Benways.
Me and T-Bone, yeah.
You and T-Bone, and wasn't it Dallas?
Dallas, yeah. It's weird that you know these people because I'll be honest, the drummer in this comic, when I talked about like when I'm doing their dialogue or whatever, when he's speaking, it's Dallas's voice that I'm hearing every single time. So if I'm writing down, when I was writing dialogue for the character Phil, I was saying it in my head like him. So these people are the characters are very real people to me. So like if I wrote down something that wasn't right and I said it like as Dallas in my head, I could always be like, no. And I would, backspace or erase. Yeah. And, but yeah, they're in there. I asked permission too from some people. Like before I did this, on Facebook and places, I said, I'm about to do this book. There's going to be people in here that there's a character in here you're in there. Is that okay? And I got the okay. So we'll see. But yeah, Dallas and T-Bone and Andy Greer.
Oh,
All those guys are a big part of me playing music in my life, and part of this book too. And Tommy Bowling and Jeff Blanton,
Tommy and Jeff, yeah.
All these real people that I played music with in my life they're all in here somewhere. So, and I've fought and been friends with them for years and years, and I still love all of them, even if they probably some people hate my guts, but that's life. I still love them, and I tried to honor all the dumb things that we did. So, but anyway.
And what's crazy is, I could, because we have a lot of the same mutual friends in that group of friends, you and I could both segue and tell stories all day long about that, and probably not even come close to anything that's in the book.
Sure.
But that's a story for another time. It's been great speaking with you today, hearing you talk about the creative process and how this came together, your inspiration, and our home being represented. And just do you have we mentioned some book signings. You do have October 12th at Cavalier Comics and Wise, and you mentioned you had some other signings. Do you have any particular dates or anything you want to plug before we go? Or?
Just keep checking Instagram. It's going to be there. I think the first week of October before Cavalier, I'm going to believe there's a place called the Beer Temple in Matthews that we're going to be doing a signing. And then I'm going to do some at Sailfish in Winston-Salem and Greensboro. And I'm also going to be doing, they're going to show, there's an independent movie house here, like a place that shows cult movies. We're going to show a movie and do a signing there. That's going to be in Charlotte. So, but I'll post all of that on Facebook and Instagram. And
I was going to say, I would love to have you back on in a couple months just to follow up and see how things are.
Yeah, we'll do that. That sounds fun. I like talking. I like talking about this book. I'm working on another book, so I'm just going to try to keep it going. And I'm a school teacher, actually. I teach art. That's my job. And so I've got, time to make comics and time to be with my family and, time to talk to people. But yeah, the comics is just something I do. I've always done, and I just want to keep doing them. And I'm really proud of this book in particular, and also how it came out. Like I said, the Dark Horse people, I have no complaints thus far. The book's beautiful, and I can't wait to share it with everybody. And hope everybody enjoys it that picks it up. And I hope a lot of people pick it up, but we'll see. That's not up to me.
Well, I think we're gonna try to promote it a little bit more on our regular show too.
Please do,
yeah. And for those of you out there that want to follow Jeremy on Instagram, it's one word: Massie Makes Comics.
Yep.
MassieMakesComics.
Yep. Same on Twitter too, or X, or whatever they call it.
It's Twitter.
Yeah. Oh God, it's such a I put art on there all the time, but it's such a it's terrible. It's terrible to look at. It's terrible to behold some of the things that happen on there nowadays.
The website is an absolute trash fire.
It's bad, yeah. But I post art on there too. But I like Instagram just because it's quicker. Not as.
Well, I think we got to wrap this up.
Sure.
Schedule and everything. But thank you so much for joining. Anything else you want to plug before we head out?
Nah, just the book comes out September 24th. Holler, Dark Horse Comics, Jeremy Massie. Thank you, guys.
There you go. Thank you again for joining us. Anybody out there who ends up picking the comic, let us know. All the social medias are going to link below, including Jeremy's here. So go give him a follow. And guys, we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care, everybody.